All right, we get into the month of November. Arkansas football back in action. We talk with Connor O'Gara from Saturday Down South. Connor never has a bye weekend. He doesn't even know what that's like. That's one of the great things about being a national columnist, right? Connor, you're not like the fans, man. You don't have to ever sit there and complain, I don't have my team playing this weekend.
It's the best. I went to Jacksonville. I experienced the cocktail party for the first time. It was very much an on week for me. It was awesome. Very one-sided affair, but fortunately, I was one of my buddies had a suite. He's a diehard Georgia fan, so I was actually in a suite for the first half of that game. So for the final 2:16, when all hell broke loose and Georgia ran away with it, I was surrounded by Georgia fans, which was a lot more fun than if I had been surrounded by Florida fans during those moments. Although, I don't know, maybe I could go both ways on that argument.
Well, it's one of the two non-home site games in the SEC between league teams. I'd seen recently is there a little controversy about if the game is going to stay there or not? Like the Jacksonville mayor came out and said, yeah, we're going to keep the game through for 2 more years at least. And the school's like, hold on a moment. We haven't signed anything. I think and I think the coaches want this game on campus sites. Is there something going on with this?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. And a lot of people like to throw out those economic impact numbers, but I think the schools are taking the biggest hit to not have these games at their respective campuses, because think about how crazy they would be on a yearly basis to have that. Not to knock Jacksonville, because I think Jacksonville is actually kind of underrated. I've lived in Florida for 6.5 years. That was my first time in Jacksonville, but it's beautiful, man. Like, city right on the water right there. It's got such a great tailgate atmosphere. It's basically like a half mile of tailgating as you get up to the stadium. And yeah, it's an NFL stadium, so say what you will about that. But at the same time, man, I think it's one of the cooler games that we have in college football. At the same time, am I going to complain if it's being played in the Swamp or if it's playing at Sanford Stadium? No. Both would be incredible venues for it. But yeah, it does have a very unique feel to it.
Get the joke out of the way here earlier that it's nice now that Jacksonville finally had an NFL caliber team playing there in the University of Georgia.
Funny.
Yuck. All right. We were talking in the last segment about the absolute, utter beauty of the SEC West standings right now, in which the East is done and is done before November, and the West is, you still expect that Alabama is going to win the West, but usually by now, they've already done it. So it's gorgeous to see in this month of November that almost everybody still has a shot in the SEC West.
It is crazy, and it does kind of speak to the pandemonium of the division. Division's so good right now. And think about the quarterback play in the West. Kind of going through it, I'm like, there's not a bad quarterback in the West. You kind of go up and down. It's like Bryce Young, Bo Nix is playing out of his mind right now. Will Rogers just set the SEC single-game completion record for a minimum of 30 completions. Matt Corral, you've got Dak Calzada, who always will have the fact that he beat Alabama. Max Johnson is still no slouch, and then KJ Jefferson, of course. So that's why I think you kind of look up and down the division, and you're like, hey, none of these teams are really a slouch. I know that Arkansas is sitting there in last place in the division right now, but, man, I still think that this is the best division in college football, and it's not even close. And so we're going to see this kind of play out down the stretch here. Who knows if Auburn can control its own destiny through this weekend. To pick up that win against A&M would be monumental. They're playing so well right now. I know Arkansas fans are frustrated the way that they played out, but Auburn has really developed into kind of a complete team. And I don't think that they're going to beat Alabama if I'm sitting here predicting today, but they've done a lot of things really, really well so far in conference play. And it kind of goes back to all the things they've changed since the Georgia State game. So, yeah, I look up and down the division. Mississippi State has 3 wins against top 25 teams in the coaches poll, and it's the only team in the country that can say that. It's just kind of crazy the way that this is all played out, but, it's kind of reminiscent of 2014 all over again.
Yeah, it does always seem like it's – and to me, it feels like it's almost every year. You never know exactly what's going to happen in the SEC West, especially just in the SEC in general. I don't think a lot of people saw that State was going to do what they did to Kentucky. And for Arkansas, having them this upcoming week, do you think State will have that momentum and continue, or will they kind of be like they've been all season, really roller coastery, very up and then very down?
As Cole Kubelik says, they're the weirdest team in college football.
Yeah.
They are bonkers weird. And you think that they've turned the corner offensively, and I love some of the things that they're doing they actually ran the football against Kentucky. They had 31 carries to the tailbacks, and Kentucky only had 16. One team had 3 rushing touchdowns. The other had 0. The team with 3 rushing touchdowns was Mississippi State. If Mike Leach is all of a sudden going to listen to what everybody has been saying for the past year plus of, hey, you actually need to run the football every once in a while, otherwise these defensive ends are just going to pin their ears back, and Will Rogers is going to be a sitting duck, well, that changes things for me. And to me, so I look at that and the combination of what Zach Arnett has been able to do defensively, he really confused Will Levis. Keep in mind, Will Levis is coming off of a bye week. He was rested. He was ready to go. KJ Jefferson coming off of a bye week, should be ready, should be feeling very good. They mix things up with their pressures. They've got 2 legit studs on the outside with Martin Emerson and Emmanuel Forbes. We'll see how much Traylon Burks kind of moves around. I know that they like to play him in the slot a ton to kind of get him away from some of those matchups, but this is a really difficult matchup for Arkansas. I'm surprised the line was 5.5 to start. I think Mississippi State is playing some excellent football right now.
Mm-hmm. Big news for at least for a lot of people in college football. Were you shocked about Gary Patterson's exit from TCU after 21 seasons?
Yeah, there's got to be something more there. When they build you a statue, that's like a lifetime contract, and usually that means there's something that has happened here that we're not privy to all of this information, and we're going to probably find out more because the timing is just weird. Mid-season, when you've been there for over 2 decades, that is strange, man. That is really, really strange. And usually if there's something like a coach who says, and I don't want to speculate too much here, but we'll see a coach be like, hey, I've got to step away from my mental health. If there's ever a time in which you could do that, this era is it. So I just wonder kind of what led to that besides just obviously it's a wins and losses business, but at the same time, like they've had bad seasons before. I mean, they've had these floor seasons since they've joined the Big 12, and it's not like Gary Patterson is all of a sudden like, oh, hey, they're 0-7 or 0-8, and it's just a free fall. I mean, they're bad. Don't get it twisted, but they've been this bad before. So I don't know. I'm waiting to hear more about this. But TCU's a good job, man. Like, it's a really good job to be able to go into that state. I know you got a lot of competition, but they've really kind of beefed up their resources. And now with Oklahoma and Texas heading off to the SEC, like there is a real hierarchy there that's kind of undecided at this point. It's there for the taking. And maybe if TCU makes the right hire, it can kind of rise to the top of that.
Yeah, it does feel kind of weird because you think about it, like you said, with Texas and Oklahoma, even though TCU is technically one of the newest members of the Big 12, they feel like they would almost be sitting atop that conference once OU and Texas leave. College football playoff ranking coming out tomorrow night. Who is your top 4? And do you think that it'll be shocking to anybody, or will it be kind of the way that everybody thinks it will be, I guess with Georgia, OU, Cincy, and then Michigan State probably? Is that what's more than likely going to happen?
It's going to be a mess, guys. Like, it's going to be an absolute mess. I just tweeted out, do the side-by-side of Wake Forest and Oklahoma, and it'll stun you, man. Like, Oklahoma has 1 win against a Power 5 team above 500. Wait, is that right? Did I just do that wrong? I think it's actually 0. They don't have a win. Oh, no, they do have the 1, Kansas State. That's right. Okay, I was right. That's it. 1 win against a Power 5 team with a winning record. That's what Oklahoma has. Their margin of victory, 12.4 points per game. Michigan State's got a better resume than Oklahoma. Is Michigan State going to start off ranked higher than Oklahoma? My guess is no, because the selection committee is going to say, oh, well, they're a better team with Caleb Williams, whatever. Whatever, man. I watched them struggle against Kansas. Meanwhile, Michigan State comes back against Michigan with a Heisman Trophy candidate, Kenneth Walker. Yeah, it's a mess, 2 through 7 outside of Georgia. But I predicted, and I like predicting instead of just saying, like, this is how I'd rank them, because I'd have Michigan State ahead of Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. I'd have Michigan State at number 2 in the country. I think Georgia's going to be 1. I think Oklahoma 2, Michigan State 3. And then I think Cincinnati 4, Alabama 5. Now, Cincinnati, they have arguably, you could make the case that they have one of the 2 or 3 best wins in all of college football. They're the only team in the country right now that can claim that they went on the road and beat a team that's currently ranked in the AP top 10 by double digits. All right? They did that against Notre Dame. That win is held up. So I think they should get the benefit of the doubt from the selection committee. Whether that happens, we'll kind of wait and see on that. But it's going to be a disaster. There's all this one-loss, undefeated teams that we didn't expect to be undefeated as well. Yeah, I mean, I expect complete and total chaos, and everybody's going to argue every which side of this.
But Cincinnati's still the team that's got to hope, that their biggest win, the team they beat for their biggest win, Notre Dame, just keeps winning. If you're Alabama and you win the SEC, you're in. If you're Georgia, you're already in. OU, man, if they win the Big 12 and go undefeated, they're going to make it. They're one of the brand names, and the people that are voting for the committee are still human beings, and you feel like they're still kind of in some ways they'll go by a brand name that's been in that playoff for X amount of years over somebody else. So if I'm Cincinnati, I'm just like, man, you've already done all you can do. You're still expected to win every game, and they probably will, but they just got to put their hands together and pray to the Catholic God that Notre Dame keeps winning.
And they have. And that's the thing that I keep coming back to is like, look, what do we want these teams to do? What do we want a group of 5 team to do? We want them to go on the road and beat somebody that we respect, not just beat Pitt. All right, like that's the big thing that we said against UCF a couple years ago. It's not good enough if you just beat Stanford, man. Like, go out and beat somebody that's actually been there, done that. Notre Dame, say what you want. You can say that they're overrated, whatever. They were like 45-6 in their last 3 seasons coming into this year, and like 4 of those wins were against Georgia and Alabama. So I don't want to hear that Notre Dame is overrated every single year. Mm-hmm. I look at Cincinnati, that win, and I say, well, there's maybe 2 wins better. A&M when it beat Alabama at home, and then Oregon going on the road and beating Ohio State. Other than that, yeah, I'm going to give Cincinnati the benefit of the doubt because it's got a really, really good win. It played 2 games against Power 5 competition, both of which were against preseason top 25 teams, both of which were on the road, and they won both of them by double digits. So I don't know what we're doing here. If we're going to split hairs and say, you didn't control the game against Tulane, Oklahoma beat Tulane by 4 points at home. Cincinnati beat them by 19 on the road. So I'm pretty mad about this. You guys can tell. But, yeah, Cincinnati deserves the benefit of the doubt, in my opinion.
Well, and you know that this debate is going to be changing within the next 3-4 years, and we might find out, the direction that these debates go this week. And I think Greg Sankey, I don't know if I call it like a line in the sand, but it felt like it. They're not going to do the 8-team playoff. I don't think that's going to happen. If the SEC, and there's another league that I think is saying that they're not going the 8-team route, if they're saying this ain't happening this way, Greg Sankey's happier with 4 than he would be with 8. So when I hear that, like, it's going to move to 12, right? There's no way that this playoff will stay at 4. It's going to grow to 12, and these people are meeting about it this week. So I would imagine, I don't know if you're going to get any like hard news from it, but they'll be asked about it. We're going to 12. If Greg Sankey says 8's not happening, we're going to 12, right?
Well, I mean, Phil, the Alliance. Come on, let's not forget about this.
It's only been a few months. I already forgot.
I know, right? Like, the Alliance is obviously going to win out, and all Power 5 conferences are created equal, or so I'm told, which is why all of them are worthy of this automatic bid. Let's ignore the fact that currently, there's 3 Power 5 conferences who have 1 team in the AP top 25. Meanwhile, or I guess 2, because there's the Pac-12 and the ACC. They both have 1 team that's in the top 25. Meanwhile, like the Big Ten and SEC are sitting here with like a third of the top 25, and people want to act like this is just some big conspiracy theory and that there's bias leading into this, even though the SEC's won 12 of the last 16 national championships. But I digress. All conferences are obviously created equal, and the AP playoff makes perfect sense.
Connor, you got a future in politics if you ever want it. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on, and enjoy the football this week. I know you will.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Connor.
Connor O'Gara, knocking on doors, shaking hands, kissing babies. Senator O'Gara.
I'd vote for him.
Florida, yeah. From the football party, because that would be the only party that I think some of us feel like voting for these days. 877-377-6963 is the number to get with us on Halftime. Brought to you by The Fence Man. When it comes time for gates and fence repairs at your house, The Fence Man should be your only call because they don't just do the large commercial jobs, they also do the small residential repairs too. Wood privacy fence, vinyl fence, commercial, residential, chain link, or custom wrought iron fencing. The Fence Man's the only one to call. 479-782-3936. Make sure to ask about 18-month same as cash financing. If it involves fencing, the Fence Man does it. He ain't afraid of no work. And Halftime wraps up the first hour next.
We're back, and better than ever, a new web interface to start the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV 50 to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, and baseball postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.